The argument I'm trying to make with this video is kind of a two-point argument. The first point is that the Trump administration is currently running a psyop to drive division between the middle class. And my second point is that there are people in the Israeli government who are pushing for a holy war. They're actually tired of the status quo between Israel and America, and they are just ready to move on with biblical prophecy. And this is not only people within the Israeli government. Some of the people pushing for this are Christian Zionists. And what's very interesting is that Bill Cooper is somebody who tried to expose this plan many years ago. And in the same way that Netanyahu and his administration allowed Hamas to exist so that they could later come down hard on the Palestinian people, I believe they're doing something similar with Nazism in America by not only allowing it to exist, but using Trump as a puppet to inflame it. And I've definitely noticed a rise of anti-Semitism, for lack of a better word, amongst young men. The other day I was talking to a young man and he asked me something like, have you ever heard any of Hitler's speeches translated? And I just knew he was going to go into some kind of a monologue sympathizing with Nazism, which he did. It's just a trend that I've noticed nowadays.
Don't let anyone disenfranchise you because you're a young man. Especially a young white male man. Don't ever let anyone talk down to you. We need strong men out there.
In today's video, I want to completely tackle the N-word. No, not that N-word. That's better. Basically, I wanted to make a video compiling all the documentation that links the Trump administration to Nazism. And I truly think I'm a good person to present this information because I'm really unbiased. As some of you may know, I'm neither a Democrat or a Republican, and I'm really going to try my best to not be petty or strike any low blows to either side. And I can honestly say that during Trump's first term, I thought people were just over-exaggerating with the term Nazi. But recently, I've learned a lot of knowledge that has helped me see the patterns within this administration, especially in regards to the number 14 and 88. And just a disclaimer, some of this information doesn't make a case by itself. For example, just because one of Trump's elected officials wears a trench coat that looks almost identical to a Nazi trench coat, I know that doesn't automatically make him a Nazi. That's like judging a book by its cover. But whenever you start to connect all the dots that I lay out in this video, I think it makes a pretty clear case that this administration has been infiltrated by something nefarious. And I truly don't think that Israel is trying to stomp out the Nazism within America. I think actually they like it being here because it creates division amongst the working class and helps them reach their end goal, which I lay out in this video. We're living in a time where things cannot be taken for what they seem at face value. And what I mean by that is the Republican Party, which has been openly opposed to homosexuality, seems to shut down Grindr every time there's any kind of a Republican conference. Grindr, of course, being an app which gay men use to hook up with each other. And in a lot of ways, I see history repeating itself. There's a book called The Pink Swastika, which is about homosexuality in the Nazi Party. And there are some uncanny similarities between what's detailed in the book and in what is going on currently in this administration. Not only that, but there have been a lot of Nazi dog whistles over the years. The DHS made a 14-word post, which was eerily similar to a 14-word phrase that is very popular with neo-Nazis. Trump's account had a tweet leak out about a unified Reich, which was quickly deleted.
But it's a video posted to Trump's social media account during court yesterday that President Biden is calling attention to. It includes references to a unified Reich. That is a term that is largely associated with Hitler's regime in Nazi Germany.
And whoever's been writing Trump's speeches have been making them very similar to what was said by Hitler himself.
They're poisoning the blood of our country. That's what they've done. I said, no, they're not humans. They're not humans. They're animals. I'll use the word animal because that's what they are. You got to get these people back where they came from. You have no choice. You're going to lose your culture. You're going to lose your country. Does anybody believe in genes? You guys believe in...
Why would Kash Patel say that he's gonna see Charlie Kirk in Valhalla is the question a lot of people have been asking themselves. And my argument is that it has a lot to do with Norse mythology and Nazi propaganda. Whenever the Nazis were in power, they misappropriated a lot of Viking imagery, and it really goes along with the whole Aryan narrative of having blonde hair, blue eyes, being conquerors, etc., etc. And something that's really uncanny to me is that I see this Norse propaganda being used by the Trump administration the same way it was used by the Nazis. And Kash Patel saying that he'll see Charlie Kirk in Valhalla instead of heaven is a perfect example of this Norse propaganda, and is what some would call a dog whistle to neo-Nazis. Trump just recently erected 2 88-foot flagpoles in front of the White House. 88 has always been a number that is important to neo-Nazis because H is the 8th letter of the alphabet, and 88 represents Heil Hitler. But not only that, in regards to Norse mythology, Odin is often associated with the planet Mercury, which has an 88-day orbit. I would argue that the Trump administration using Norse propaganda to inflame white nationalism while at the same time being puppets to Israel is clearly a psyop. A psyop perpetuated by the mainstream media in order to push division amongst working class Americans and to push culture war over class war issues.
I don't think there's anything going to get me in heaven. Okay, I really don't. I think I'm not maybe heaven bound. I may be in heaven right now as we fly in Air Force One. I'm not sure, Abe. I don't think there's anything going to get me in heaven. Okay, I really don't.
No one will ever replace my husband. No. But I do see some similarities of my husband in JD.
Israel controls us.
Israel is in control of our government.
The government of Israel controls the United States.
Israel has run American foreign policy for 30 years.
But the fact is now Bibi and the Israeli hard-right government has a mandate, I gotta be careful the way I say this, they're gonna try to ethnically cleanse Gaza.
Yep.
I mean, I don't use that term lightly, but I think some questions need to be asked. Was there a stand-down order? Whew. Was there a stand-down order?
Counting or not counting gang violence?
Active shooter, Charlie Kirk.
To my friend Charlie Kirk, rest now, brother. We have the watch, and I'll see you in Valhalla.
I'm starting to consider whether mainstream media is just designed to make us all fight with each other and live in a constant state of fear and anger.
And maybe even consider how we might currently be in the fiercest psyop the world has ever known.
Would you need Bert and Ernie to come out and say that it's a genocide? Like, at what point do people not trust what they're seeing anymore?
What role in the Middle East, again, does Israel play in this?
Israel was created as the instrument to bring about the Battle of Armageddon and the fulfillment of prophecy, a war that will be so terrible, where nuclear weapons will be used, so that the American citizens and the other people in the world will get down on their knees and beg for no more war. And what is the answer to that? They're going to be told the only way we can guarantee no more war is if we destroy the sovereignty of nations and we come together as one humanity in a one world government.
Right, okay. And the Jewish people were then being manipulated into believing it was for some other reason.
That's correct. They've always been manipulated. And I get people who still come to me all the time and say, Bill, you're all wrong, it's the Jews. The Jews are subverting the world. Man, it's not the Jews, it's not the Catholics, it's not the blacks. It's these men who belong to the ancient mystery schools, who meet in secret and decide the fate of the world. And they belong to all different races and all different nationalities and all different religions to the public point of view. But in secret, it's a different story. At the highest levels of all countries, they all belong to the same club. And we, the people, sit back and we watch this grand drama which is being played out for our benefit. Not theirs. If it wasn't for us, they wouldn't even have to do any of this. But you see, they just can't come out and destroy all of us because they need slaves. They need people to make their shoes and make their cars and mine the ore. They need worker bees, and that's what we are. In the New World Order, will be the worker bees, the slaves.
Because the most powerful nations in the world have to go down to their knees. That's what happened to Egypt. That's what's going to happen to America. That's what's going to happen to Germany. That's what's going to happen to France. That's what's going to happen to London. England's going to happen to Poland. That's what's going to happen to Russia. That's what's going to happen to China. That's what's going to happen to North Korea. They're all going to go down to their knees and all see Hashem. But as long as they keep helping us, they'll get a bracha. And they're not going to go down on their knees. They're going to get a little more time. You guys want more time? I don't want more time. So you understand, when I hear they're friends with us, they're just perpetuating more of this status quo. They're all going to go down. They're all going to go down to their knees, and especially the Western ones. The Zohar says that they're going to go down hard for how they treated us over the last 2,000 years. For the destruction of the Second Temple and how they treated us, Hashem's going to take them down hard.
What I will argue, though, is that the truth is far more disturbing than this. What is really happening in Gaza is a ritual sacrifice. And this happens quite often in human history. So the question for us is, why is it that this happens? Why do the Aztecs do it? Why do the Phoenicians do it? Why do the Romans do it? And why is it today the Israelis do it in Gaza? And remember, okay, what the Israelis are doing is quite horrific because it is really this sort of sacrifice. Why? Because 47%, almost half of the population of Gaza is under 18 years old. So the majority of people who are getting killed are in fact children. What is most striking or blatant about what's happening in Gaza is that we can all see it for ourselves. And it's almost as though the Israelis want us to see it and want us to hate them, right? You can see all over the world, popular opinion is turning against Israel. You have these popular protests all around the world protesting what is happening in Palestine. And my argument to you is that this is intentional. They want the world to hate them. Because by doing this, they create the ultimate taboo, right? We find this disgusting and contemptuous, so the entire world will unite against Israel. But guess what? That's what their religion wants. So what's really happening in Gaza is that there are extremists within the Israel government who want to accelerate the process of the end of the world, where Israel will face the world. And if you think about it, the entire idea of this ritual sacrifice is to unite the Israeli population. And what's extremely disturbing and horrifying about it is that this works.